Okay, what's going on, guys? This is episode 7 of Dispersing the Cloud. These are book reviews. I've been reading no less than a book a week every week this year. I think I'm on book number maybe 12. So I've been flying through them pretty good. Usually what I do is I give you guys a recap of the week, and then some of my process, some stuff that's coming up next week, and the other ventures that I have. So I'm just going to bust through it. We just got done with a wrestling tournament today. That's why I didn't do the post around 9 a.m., which I usually do Friday morning, 9 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Fragoza Media and Entertainment did a commercial with Bay Alarm. We got outsourced for that, which was awesome to be working. I love driving to San Francisco and doing that. Fragoza Media and Entertainment's been doing well, so that's always good news. We got our flyers almost done for the tour that's coming up in August with Awaken Worship and More Than Rules. I got to talk to a nonprofit group that is local that I'm going to start getting involved with. I might be speaking at an event coming up next week for them, next week Saturday, a music conference that they're putting on for young kids. And then I got new artwork for the next children's book that's coming out, so you guys will hear more about that as it gets closer. This week process stuff has been pretty crazy. I've been on the phone and emailing back and forth with the publishing company that's doing my book, Josh and the Sock Army. We've ordered a large order of 5,000 books, and it's been like pulling teeth trying to get those things printed. I had to talk to them again. There was complications, so we purchased those books back in December, and it has just been a headache trying to get it done. Never anticipated it being that much. So part of what I'm realizing in this process is priorities. I have so many different things going on, and sometimes I'm not prioritizing things correctly. I need to get studio time booked. We have a new book coming out, Fragoza. The website needs to be built. The media and entertainment stuff, my acting stuff has to be booked. I haven't even applied for any acting gigs this week. I got a new business I'm launching this next month, and I'm trying to do a podcast with my buddy Daniel. We still haven't launched Socially Challenged, and these book reviews as well. So all those things I'm juggling, and I'm noticing that sometimes priorities, that's probably the hardest thing to manage. So one of the best practices that I'm going to put in this next week is goal setting. Every day needs to happen, regardless of where I am, regardless of what I'm doing. I need to wake up and have just a list of goals right next to, my bed, wherever I end up crashing in whatever city I'm in. Right now I'm in Sacramento. We got a hotel room for tonight. Upcoming next week is studio time's a must. I got to book that stuff. It's tough. Again, priorities. It's tough to get a hold of people. Sometimes I'll send an email, I won't get a reply, and I won't realize I didn't get a reply because I'm focused on the book. So I really got to focus on that next week. And then locking down dates for Socially Challenged with my buddy Daniel. We've talked numerous times about what the topics are going to be for filming it. And we really got to lock down a date for next week. So I got a couple text messages out to him. Daniel, when you watch this, because I know you do, hit me up. Let's lock down some days next week. Book of the week. So this week, it kind of felt like a week off. I only went through 2 books this week, and I've been going through pretty much 3, sometimes bleeding into 4 each week. So 2 really felt like a week off. I did The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and I did War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. So I'm going to kind of approach, let's do War of Art first. So War of Art was kind of like Big Magic. I reviewed Big Magic. That was the first book that I reviewed this year. It talks a lot to people who do art for a living, and people who want to do art for a living. Talk about like your craft and how much time you spend on it. The book talked a lot about resistance. I got some notes here for you guys on the book. And resistance is anything that, it's basically the little voice in your head telling you that it's a stupid idea, or no one's going to like that. Maybe you're not really a great musician. Anything that is telling you not to do whatever is in your straight heart is resistance. And the book talks about every artist facing resistance. I think one of the most provocative quotes I read, it was talking about Hitler, and Hitler was actually a painter. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but he talked about painting a blank canvas being in front of Hitler. It was terrifying for him. It was so terrifying that starting World War II was easier. So it was easier for Hitler to start World War II than to sit in front of a blank canvas. He should have been an artist. That's what he wanted to do. He loved art. He spent his inheritance. He had a small inheritance from his family. He spent his inheritance going to art school to study to be an artist. And he got through art school. But when he sat in front of a canvas, he was terrified of the ridicule and of what people would say. So instead, he started the Holocaust. Like that's insane, right? Like he should have been an artist, but he was too terrified of it. So he became a dictator instead. That was super provocative for me, especially someone who tries to write from their heart and not worry about what people are going to think about it. One of the other quotes that I really loved from it was, "A professional writes from his heart, but a hack contemplates first what people will like." And that was pretty cool for me to read. It talked a lot about ego and how our ego kind of feeds into resistance, thinking that we have to be something. One of the questions that was posed in the book is, if there was no one else on earth, would you still do your art? Would you still take the time to pursue it if you knew no one would ever hear it or no one would ever see it? The author of this book, Stephen Pressfield, argues that that's how you know if your art is pure or if your art is something that truly is your calling. Stephen Pressfield actually is the person who wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance. And when he wrote it, he tells the story of going to his publisher and he said, "Hey, I have an idea for a book. Unfortunately, it's a book. It'd be a great movie, but for some reason in my head it's a book, and I got to write the book first before we can even talk about a movie." Because that's what his muse was telling him. That's what he felt it should be. And they talked about it in Big Magic as well. So that was I definitely agreed with the author on that a lot. And another thing that he talked about was share your work with people. We all have purpose in life. We all are called to do something, whatever that is. And this will actually lead into The Alchemist. We'll jump into that after this. We all have a journey. We all have a calling on our life, and whatever that is in your heart of heart, you got to find a way to do that. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to be fulfilled. He talks about being filled up and being re-energized. He mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he goes to the gym, right? He goes to the gym for him, not for anybody else. He didn't go to the gym for us to see him, right? He went to the gym because he got pumped. He felt just alive in the gym, and if there was no one else on earth, he would still be at the gym. So if there was no one else on earth, I'd probably still be writing music. The music would just be for myself, but I'd definitely still be writing it. Let's jump right in. From that note, I'm going to jump right into The Alchemist. I don't read fiction. I never read fiction, but I did read fiction for this particular book because the books that I was reading, the nonfiction books I was reading, kept recommending The Alchemist. And so I kept hearing The Alchemist, The Alchemist, The Alchemist. All right, fine, I'll read it. Fantastic book. And I think it was such a good book is because it talks so much about choosing your particular legend. They keep referring to a man to find his own personal legend. And a lot of times I think about the circumstances that come up in my life and the hardships that I had to overcome to even be where I am today, as far as having a great job, feeling like everything's kind of going the way it should be going, and then just your life gets flipped upside down. Next thing you know, you don't have a job, you're basically homeless, and you're back in your hometown. It's like, what am I going to do for money? I have no clue, but I know I don't want to go back to the corporate world. How does that feed into my journey? And then 2 years later from that, sitting here, not working in 2 years, and having commercials going on, and having an album that's being produced, and having a book tour and a music tour being talked about, having 2 companies that I started and are up and running now. It's just insane to me that I haven't worked in 2 years. I'm sitting here and all my bills are paid and I got money in the bank. That's gnarly. And to think that I definitely would choose this for myself, but I wouldn't have gotten out of that job unless I would have been forced out like I was. It was too easy of money. Life was too easy for me. So I think that's huge. I'm actually going to steal some top 10 I'll cite them here, from Huffington Post. It looks like Ty Nagini. I'm saying that person's name wrong for sure, but this is from Huffington Post, and I'm going to steal a couple of their top 10 lessons from The Alchemist. Fear is usually a bigger obstacle than the obstacle itself. Again, War of Art talked about this. Grant Cardone talks about this. Simon Sinek talks about this. The co-founder, Peter Thiel of PayPal, talks about this. Everybody's talking about the same thing. Damien John talked about this in the book that we covered last week. And The Alchemist talks about this. That it's really the fear that's the scary thing. Once you get past the fear, the obstacle really isn't that difficult. And once you overcome it, you kind of look back at it and you're like, that wasn't that hard. For someone who's dyslexic to publish a book and have people read it, that was extremely scary for me. But looking back, it was like, nah, it's really not that hard. I plan on publishing a bunch of other books, and now I'm just over that fear. What is true will always endure. That is a lesson, I think, just of life. Breaking monotony. Sometimes we just get stuck in a rut, and we keep continuing doing the same things because it's easy. Like I talked about, I worked in that job for a year and a half, 2 years, because it was just easy. A check came in, money came in, it was easy, it was easy, it was easy. When I was ignoring all the passions that I have, music, acting, writing books, running my own business, right? Not spending time running someone else's business. So that was huge for me, and The Alchemist is just amazing. Embrace the present. That theme is just over and over and over again. Your success has a ripple effect through eternity. One of the great quotes that I love, that's not from The Alchemist, is nothing you have in this world you can bring with you. The only thing you leave behind is the ripple effect through eternity, from the people that you touch. Make decisions. Make the decision. Make your own decisions. This book talked a lot about omens and seeing the signs in front of you from God, from the universe, from whatever. When you have your own personal legend, when you have something that you have to do with your life, the universe wants you to accomplish that. And it will open doors for you, whether you believe in God or you just believe in synergy or whatever. I've found that to be extremely true. If you really, really want something, the universe has a way of opening doors. I'm operating out of Northern California, mostly in Lodi and Sacramento, and I've got more accomplished here in music and acting than I ever did in LA. And I lived in LA for 2 years, and I did music and acting full time there. But somehow, when I truly want something, the universe provides that in Lodi. What? In Sacramento? That doesn't make any sense. So, super, super cool. One of the other ones, be unrealistic, be unreasonable. That's a Grant Cardone one right back there. Keep going, keep getting back up. Be relentless in what you want to do. Refuse to ignore anything else, or refuse to ignore. Cloud has me. Refuse to be denied what you want out of life and ignore all the naysayers. Number 9, focus on your journey. Always take action was number 10. For those of you who don't know what The Alchemist is, it's about a young boy pursuing, he's a shepherd, and he has a vision of treasure in Egypt, and he goes on a journey, and he faces a lot of obstacles in this journey. I don't want to spoil alert it for you, but every young man should read this book. Every young entrepreneur should read this book. It spoke to me. I mean, a lot of the story, I'm just listening to it, and I'm like, yeah, that just rings true to me as someone who is chasing a dream that people said is not possible. It's only for certain people. You really can't make a living doing art because it's not realistic. If you really want to, you can. It's not easy. It's very, very difficult, but I'm doing it. I didn't know how that was even going to happen, 2 years ago, but I'm sitting here and, like I said, all my bills are paid. I'm not hungry. I'm actually gaining a little bit of weight. I got to get back in the gym, and it's definitely possible. So I would definitely recommend The Alchemist to anybody. I'm gonna close up with that. Hop out of here. I got to go to dinner with the team right now. War of Art, I'm gonna say 4 stars. Definitely a book that I would recommend to any artist or maybe not an entrepreneur, but definitely an artist. If you're an artist, you should be reading it. The Alchemist, 5 stars. Killed it. I already started listening to it again. I'm almost through it a second time in this week, just because I want to pick up stuff that maybe I missed on the first go around. Let me finish up with my stuff that's going on next week, so you guys kind of know what's going on. Upcoming I guess it's next month. My next book, Leaders Eat Last. Simon Sinek. Love the dude. I think Matt Panos, if you're watching this, you're reading that book. You recommended it to me, so I'm going to throw the review up. I hope I gave enough time for you to read it. I know I'm busting through these fast. If You're Not First, You're Last by Grant Cardone. I need a little pickup from Grant Cardone. I'm doing a lot of different projects, and I need some motivation to drive. So I'm going to hit up those 2 books next week. Upcoming next month, we're going to start booking the tour. We already have the date set up, but we're actually going to start locking down some churches and venues to play at, setting up dates for book reads. I should have the 5,000 books in hand in no less than 4 weeks, or I'm going to strangle somebody. We got recording 4 days at least in the studio next month. Hopefully wrapping up that album. We want to be done by April 5th. Launching of the new business that I have coming up. I'm not going to tell you guys too much about it till everything's kind of set in stone, but I'm launching another business here, partnership business. I don't own the whole thing, but I'm going to be involved in it in some way, shape, or form. And then your word of inspiration is not from Mark Twain. It says it's from Mark Twain, but I believe that was last week. Let me delete that. It is from Stephen Pressfield from The War of Art. Casting yourself as a victim is the antithesis of doing work. The antithesis means is the exact mirrored image of opposite. If you are casting yourself as a victim, woe is me, I'm dyslexic. I can't write. Woe is me, I don't know, I struggle in school. Woe is me, I don't have any money. Power of broke, right? Damien John. Oh, I don't have any money. That's the antithesis. That's the mirrored image of work. It's the opposite of work. It's the opposite of doing things. Don't ever cast yourself as a victim. Look at your opportunity as an advantage. Malcolm Gladwell in David and Goliath, one of my favorite authors, favorite books, talks about desirable deficiencies. I'm just leaving you guys with that. Whatever you look at yourself in the mirror and you see a deficiency, trust me, it's an advantage. You don't know how it's an advantage yet, but it definitely is. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Casting yourself as a victim is the antithesis of doing work. I'll see you next week. I'm pumped to review those. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter. I post every quote that I like from books. I post it on Twitter during the week, so you guys can actually check out the tweets that I'm putting out of the quotes that I'm going to get from Leaders Eat Last, as well as If You're Not First, You're Last. I'll catch you guys later.